Hello, hello. You made it over okay?
I did.
Excellent. All right, there's all of our honored guests. Fantastico. And let me share my screen over here. So we have this. All right, and I see people are filtering in. So thank you all for joining. If you feel like it, I always love to hear where people are joining from. So if you want to drop in the chat where you're joining from, please feel free. We always have a good mix of locations all over the universe. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Catherine, you're in Denver?
Yes, I am.
TJ, how about you?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville. And
Go
Michael?
Jaguars.
I'm in Burlington, Vermont.
Oh, Burlington. Is that where you're always located?
Most days, yeah. I was born and raised in Miami Beach, and the firm I'm with is based out of West Palm Beach. But been here, growing the firm in New England for a little while. So now, wife, kids, life is in Vermont.
So I spent a lot of time in Vermont on trial act in Burlington, actually. So I have a strong affinity for it, but not during March and April.
I understand.
Excellent. All right. So I'm going to give us my official schedule says 12:02 is where we're jumping in. Excellent. And I see lots of folks joining. I see Larry and Kat in. Kalina, hello, friends. Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining. Lots of new friends in. Leslie and Mary and Patrice and some other folks. And as we go through this, I'm going to go off screen for just 1 second. Do feel free to ask any questions along the way, drop things in the chat. I'll be watching for that. And we do want this to be interactive and hopefully a little bit fun. That's the goal. We'll see how it works out. We'd love to connect with everyone on LinkedIn too. So you'll see here on the screen, we have little QR codes for each of us. So do connect with people on LinkedIn. It's always nice afterwards to kind of talk about, hey, I loved when you said this, or hey, tell me more about this. And I'm sure the folks here on our esteemed panelists will be happy to talk more with you after the session. All right, well, according to my clock, it is 12:02. Have a pretty good bucket of attendees in, so let me just get this all set up and we will jump right in. Let me pull up my chat too, just so I can see anyone who might be talking. All right, let me stop my screen here. Stop sharing. All right, now we got the people. Hello, peoples. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, let me throw this over here. All right, so let's jump in. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. And I see there's still a few folks filtering in. We'll just start the intro off. Welcome to today's seminar, Synergy in Action, Law Firms and Tech Companies Imagine the Future Together, generated by ChatGPT, best title ever. I had a lot of cheekier titles, but we went with ChatGPT's title based on the content I wrote. So for our goals today, what I hope that you leave with, if you're a law firm or a legal buyer, I hope that you are encouraged to work more closely with your vendors by the end of this session to think about ways that you can help them improve and they can make your life better in return. I hope that you will become customers of some of these vendors, that you're waiting on product roadmap items and help them get to where they need to be by being active users of the software. And then for tech companies, I hope that you find ways to find customers that are the right fit for engaging with you and embarking on this journey. There's lots of wrong people out there to go on this journey with. So we help you find the right ones. And then we want to help those selling the legal develop an approach based on all this expertise we have here to find those relationships that are the most valuable as well. So I think lots of exciting things to talk about today. Myself, I'm Cheryl Wilson-Griffin, CEO of Legal Tech Consultants. We are a consultancy that's really dedicated to bringing together all the players in the legal tech ecosystem. So you'll see we have webinars almost every Wednesday. And the goal really is to bring together all different pieces. So whether it's buyers, sellers, investors, clients, we want everybody to come together because this system doesn't work without all of us. My experience is 20-something years. I'm stopping at 20, working at the intersection of tech and legal. That's about a dozen years at innovation at firms like Kirkland, Mayer Brown, and King and Spalding, where I was very involved in the procurement process and so understand the nuances of what that process looks like, and hopefully can share some of those with you. The other half I spent developing products and services for legal and selling to legal. So whether that was in software companies or consulting companies, I've always worked very closely with lawyers to bring forth new things. And then finally, kind of what I'm working on today, kind of two sides, right? So again, going back to the legal ecosystem, I'm helping law firms, basically under 150 lawyers, think about their technology stack, get that optimized, and find ways to innovate without spending zillions of new dollars. I think there's lots of opportunities there right now with all the new tech out. And then with tech companies, helping them align their product and their strategies to the way that law firms actually buy and work. So with that, I'm going to stop talking about me and let my esteemed panelists introduce themselves. And I'll go with ladies first. So Catherine, I'll start with you. I'd love to hear a little bit about you.
Great. Well, thank you. And I'm so glad to be part of this group today. It's a fun subject to talk about that we could talk about forever. But we'll try to stick to the topic. I am Catherine McPherson, and my title is Legal Technology Strategist. And I'm with Bartlit Beck. It's a 75 lawyer trial firm with offices in Denver and Chicago. And as a paralegal for most of my career, I've utilized many software tools, and I've seen the evolution from paper to digital firsthand. Throughout that whole time, I've been working with business partners for decades now on design development, and I've liked it so much that I've made it a permanent part of my career. And for the last few years, I've expanded my role, adding another hat, of course, to be a legal technology strategist, which helps our firm and our clients with tech solutions, both long-term and short-term solutions.
I love it. And one of the things that I think is great, Catherine, about Bartlit Beck is one, no billable hour, right? So that makes you really focused on efficiency and technology.
That's right. We're next month, we're going to celebrate our 30th year of the non-billable hour, or non-hourly billable model, I should say. And somehow we've done real well with that. And it's actually allowed us a lot of flexibility that we've enjoyed, especially in the tech development and onboarding arena.
I wish I'd been able to shoot confetti out for your 30 years of hour, proving that it can work. That's the key thing. Michael, I'd love to hear an intro from you. Tell us about you.
Thanks, Cheryl. My name is Michael Stevens. I am the managing partner of Dare Stevens Black & Kozad. We are a law firm headquartered in West Palm Beach, Florida. I've been practicing for just about 16 years. This is the only firm I've worked with. The firm has expanded outside of Florida now, all the way up the east coast of the United States, throughout New England, New Jersey, New York. We have approximately 40 attorneys that are currently working with us in various aspects of litigation. Technology has always been kind of a passion of mine. My dad got me into it way earlier than most people. I spent a lot of time in high school by myself, just learning how the stuff worked, which didn't seem like it was going to pay off at the time, but here I am with some very fine people getting to talk about it, which really makes me happy. And so getting to experience how the avenues of technology and law kind of collide with one another has been kind of one of the biggest surprises, I think, of my career so far. And so I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to kind of share this conversation with everybody.
And I think from a service provider standpoint, if your lawyer has two workstations, one of them having double monitors, this is a good sign that this is someone you want to work with. TJ, last but not least, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's TJ Fraser. I've been a lawyer for over 25 years now. And really, I started off at a big firm and then decided that I wanted to work in a smaller firm. And that's what caused all the problems that go along with it. Trying to represent really big clients in a small firm is very hard. And I'm incredibly lucky because I just happened to have people around me that were technology innovators, and I'm a complainer. I would complain. And then I think it's because they just wanted me to be quiet. They were like, okay, fine, we'll just build what you're talking about. Just, stop complaining about this. And really, I feel very lucky. Michael has, I've been working with Michael now for a number of years, and that's one of the things that I think is a consistent thread in developing technology. Is technology always starts with the same thing. It always starts with a problem, and maybe if you're a complainer and you know the right people, somebody will build a solution for it. So that's how I ended up with ZenCase, and really we have a big passion for technology and really focusing on helping lawyers and law firms to live a better existence, be more profitable, be more efficient, and get better outcomes.
I love it. And their booth, the ZenCase booth at ILTACon had a lady who was very zen at the booth on the decal, and I thought that's exactly what we need in legal. So a tiny bit more zen. I love it. Well, cool. Let's jump right in then. Let's jump right in. One of the biggest challenges any tech company faces is the dreaded question, who else is using this? And everyone has to start somewhere. There's a first customer, there's a first 5 customers for every product on earth. And it can be very complicated to get over that hump. So TJ and Michael, when you and I were talking at ILTACon, I think you shared a really great story, kind of how you navigated this. And I would love if you could share with us how you kind of came together and what happened there.
Absolutely. I think a lot of these solutions that we come up with are all derived from some sort of pain that we're in. And I think that goes without saying for everything. It's not just legal software. And when I met TJ, I was in a lot of pain. And what was nice was I was lucky enough to be put in touch with, I was actually Net Documents, and they kind of took me by the hand and said, "Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. We're gonna help you and your law firm kind of find your way out of where you are right now, and that things will be okay." Basically, the things I as a lawyer tell my clients, where I'm basically explaining to them, I understand the predicament, here's how it'll work, but one day this too shall pass. And Net Documents essentially put me on the path to finding a case management solution for my firm. The one we were on wasn't working. We were all very unhappy with it. It was cloud-based, which was great. We were in a pandemic in 2020, so fine. But at the end of the day, it was something we all knew was not something long-term, and it really was causing a number of issues for us. And so they introduced us to all of the case management platforms that we eventually spoke with. And we spoke with a lot of them. I think we spoke with 12 and demoed 12 different platforms to get an eye of what was out there, because the truth was, I didn't know how good it could be on this platform. And it just so happened that Mr. Fraser was the first individual I was set up with. And so I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, TJ. How did you get on that call with me that day?
Well, it's funny because we had salespeople at ZenCase, and I said, you know what, I want to do a demo, and they were probably like, uh-oh, look out. And it was really it genuinely was my first demo that I'd done. And so I started talking with Michael, and it went really naturally because he was telling us a lot of the same problems that we experienced, which is why we created ZenCase. We actually originally did not create ZenCase to share it with anybody. We created it to solve our problems. And an interesting metric is when I changed firms, and I did it with the requirement that my new firm run on ZenCase, our revenues went up by almost 50%, and I only brought half the people with me. So I'm like, this may be working. And then it was later on that we said, well, let's try and commercialize this and share it with others. And Michael was great because Michael was incredibly detail-oriented. One of the things, and Michael, you should probably think about sharing it with the world today. He had put together a checklist, a single-spaced, 3 or 4 pages that you had to answer the questions. And he went about looking at legal tech in an incredibly methodical way. But it was, for lack of a better term, it was almost magical because we started talking about things, and he was telling me things that frustrated him. And I was like, you know what, that frustrated me too. Why don't you try this in ZenCase? And then he tried it. And then he said, well, can I take it for a spin. I was like, yes, take it for a spin, take it for a test drive. We've got insurance. You can run it into walls. It's okay. And then it just, the conversation went naturally from there.
I love it. And so, Michael, you asked the question, like, give me some references. Tell me who else you're working with. And so how did you actually get together when the answer was, I can't?
Well, it was a little first. So it was after he had played around with Zencase for a while, and he just was looking for a check the box. And we had just released Zencase to the world, like just released Zencase to the world. So he said, I need to have referrals from 3 firms that have over 50 users that have been on your platform for a while. And I said, you know, we have 3 core values: honesty, transparency, and accountability. And I said, honestly, I can't give them to you. Transparently, I think that you're still going to love Zencase, and accountability, you know, we'll put in place appropriate, you know, just why don't we take all your data and put it in Zencase and play around with it and see if we can deliver. And that's basically what we did.
It was a moment. Like I've like it's one of those moments that kind of sticks with you a little bit. Because what had happened was, you know, with TJ and Zencase being my first demo that I got to see, I was so blown away by it on day 1. I thought, I can't wait to see all the next 11 demos I'm about to do. Like if this is the first one, I can't wait. And I just kept getting just kind of taken down a notch with each demo. Everything I'd be told, like, you can do this, but not like this, or you can do it, but you have to do it this way, or maybe we'll work on this. Yeah, I had some people that were very just not engaged in the process that I was in. A lot of companies don't use people that have, well, not lawyers to begin with. TJ is a lawyer, so he can talk the same language as me. The pain points that he can empathize with me are genuine because he has been there before, as opposed to somebody that, you know, used to sell paper and is now selling legal tech software. And so I kept in my mind going back disappointed, like, I wish this was as good as what Zencase could do. But I had that question and I had that answer from TJ. And when he said that, it was just like deep exhale, because it was like, all right, well, you know, not out of the possibility, but we're going to have to kind of understand this a little bit more. And is the juice worth the squeeze? You know, like, is the risk worth kind of holding hands and doing this together? And where we got with TJ, which has been a magical journey, and we're 2+ years in Zencase right now, and could not be happier. And that is not, you know, like puff. That is like legitimate. I don't have people complaining to me about software anymore. I have people complaining to me about lawyers again in other cases, and that's where I was before the software issue came up. Is simply just that we identified what we wanted to be as a law firm. Did we want to solve the pain points only for today and yesterday in making it, because it's a big decision to switch your software partners. It's not cheap, you know. At times it takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of energy, you know, energy that people would otherwise rather be doing lawyer stuff, have to be spent preparing to transition and train to use a different piece of software. And that's something, you don't do that every year. You hope you only have to do it once or twice, maybe in a career, if you're really lucky. And so the idea was, Zencase was giving us a ball of clay that had the appearance, and with TJ behind it, that it could basically take us way further in our development over time and allow us to be happier and provide a better product for our clients. Versus other products that we were looking at were like, great, you solve all these pain points today, but I have to fit inside your box in order to practice law. And so not only will that only be a short-term solution, I'm going to have a lot of unhappy people at my firm that are not going to be thrilled with the way that they're being told they have to change the way that they practice. With Zencase, yes, they had to learn how to use the software, which is pretty, you know, ergonomically intuitive. It's like getting into a car. You know, you don't really have to read the manual to know how to turn on the air conditioning. You know, you kind of get that same sense when you're on Zencase. But that's why we made that decision collectively as a firm, which is another thing I would tell people listening who are in the throes of maybe making this decision. It's like, don't put this on one person. It's not fair. Okay. And the result of it ultimately if it's not ultimately positive, it's like you want to have as much feedback as you can from the variety of groups. We created a committee called Project Constant Sorrow. That was the one that's how we kind of established, picking somebody. But from my perspective, you cannot have enough information. Ask all the difficult questions. Don't be afraid to be pushy, respectfully in these conversations, because you got to remember somebody's always trying to sell you something, whether it's legal software, bananas, whatever it is. Okay, it doesn't matter, and you're the customer, and you want to find out how genuine they are. Can they come through with the stuff before you hold hands and jump off that cliff together? Because you don't want to find that out after the fact.
Thelma and Louise, I love it. We're gonna have to double back on the Project Constant Sorrow name. I love that movie. So, but I heard a couple of really interesting things here that I think worth taking note of for the folks listening, right? One, kind of make sure that you're picking a firm or you're picking people to work with who are really engaged, right? When we see this kind of methodical approach to picking software, on one hand, it can be a little maybe annoying to get a 4-page single-space questionnaire as a vendor, right? It's like, oh, more work. I already have 19 jobs, right? But at the same time, it tells you very clearly what they're worried about, what they're concerned about, and those types of things. So I think that's a really great sign across the board. The other thing I think that came through your guys' conversation is great discovery, right? You didn't have a separate discovery call, which I don't know about you guys, but I hate when somebody asks me for, oh, well, let's have a 10-minute discovery call and then we'll do the demo. It's like, you know what, forget it. I don't even want to do it because it just feels so involved, right? Like I want to have it as a conversation, but TJ did great listening. Michael shared really what his pain points were, and that really allowed you two to come together. But my favorite thing, TJ, is one of the things, and I think you talked about it when you guys had prep yesterday, is, as a founder, the first thing we want to do is get out of sales and get out of demos, right? But there's something to be said about getting close to your customers, right? If you hadn't done that demo and you two hadn't met, and Michael had just talked to a salesperson, we might not all three be having this conversation right now, right? So the fact that you two and you stuck with it and you wanted to do it and get close to the customer made a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, something I know founders, you want to get away from stuff. Tech people, you want to get away from stuff, but stick with it. It's worth it, I promise. All right, so Catherine, let's you and I talk. So you and I have worked together in several capacities over the years, never together in the same organization. But I've spent most of my career buying and selling legal tech, as we talked about. I've seen it again and again. Products super duper close. It's like, oh, well, if it only had this one extra thing, then it would be perfect and we would buy it and the world, rainbows would come out, there'd be Pegasus everywhere and unicorns. And you know what? Call me when you do that, right? And that can be, positive in some cases, but a lot of times it means you as a firm never get that thing because you're not that important to me as a vendor yet. You're not a customer, right? And so you and I really originally met because you were a customer of a very early stage tech startup I was working for. And you and a couple of other really awesome, mostly women, forward-thinking women, really helped us develop that product and move us forward, I think. And you became critical to helping us make decisions about what we would do next. So you've made a career, I wouldn't even say you have made a career out of doing this sort of thing repeatedly. And I've seen you do it with lots of vendors and even speaking with you at Elticon and talking with some of the vendors you work with. So I'd love to hear about your process. How do you decide who the right person is? How do you not let the vampire in the door that's the wrong person, right? So how do you make those kind of selections? And what's your process for deciding who to work with?
Sure. Just a short description of our environment. We take a cafeteria approach to our technology stack. So it allows us the freedom to move players in and out without having to redo the entire stack. So that's a good tip for folks and has helped us a lot. And so it allows me to kind of focus on, well, what am I really shopping for? Am I looking for a long-term solution, a completely out-of-the-box innovative solution, or an add-on to an existing solution that we have? And so how do I decide which one that is? Well, you have to listen to your constituents. And if they're saying, oh my gosh, you know, I keep doing the same repetitive process using this particular software, isn't there a better way? If searching is so clunky in this tool, you know, it takes up half of my day. So that's where my analysis starts of a decision I need to make. And sometimes it's a fairly simple solution. So for example, we decided to go to a standalone solution on stamping exhibit for trial. Now, it seems like, well, that's just a small piece and doesn't everybody do it? Well, no, everybody can say they do it, but do they do it well? Do they do it integrated with the kind of software that we're using? So, and if you're not a member of that team that uses that software, well, you have no access to that tool. So rather than reinvent the wheel, since software is already out there, the IP is already out there, we decided to go after some vetting and some research with a standalone little app. It's amazing. Everybody loves it. You put it on your computer. It's good to go. So sometimes a solution doesn't have to be a big seismic change. It can be a small piece. So when I look for the point on that story is that a tech solution can come in the form of a small app, and I'm always looking for business partners that can solve a singular problem. That may be all I need. The second instance, which is what you and I started out working with, gosh, I hate to say like 12 years ago, is this company I met in New York at Legal Tech. And I was looking for an alternative solution to transcripts and how to manage transcripts and do searching. I'd actually met with a developer by chance in London years ago, and he was the designer of LiveNote. And I said, well, he's probably going to have something good coming down the pike here. And sure enough, shows up in New York with this really cool tool. But it was missing a lot of pieces that I thought I would really need and that would make them stand out because no one else was doing it in the market. And so I talked to them extensively just because I was a nerd and very interested in it. And so they said, well, look, let's set up a little sandbox for you. As we go along with the design process, let us know what you think about it. It turned out to be just a piece of it, which was the designation thing. It was something that takes up a lot of lawyers' time, a lot of allied professionals, which is my term that I like to use. I don't like the non-attorney thing because I'm a non-doctor, I'm a non-engineer, but I am an allied professional to the legal market and to our attorneys. So anyways, we set up that kind of a relationship early on, and it was just simply fun. It was interesting. It was something that was going to incredibly benefit us. So when I convinced them, coming from Europe over to the US, that this is what the American market does and needs. And so when they kind of heard it from more than one potential client, they said, well, yeah, we better do this. Turns out it's something that's a very big piece and a very big sell for them. And to this day, I remain highly involved with that business partner in the product design and function development for that piece of software. Then the third instance that I talked about was innovative type solutions, things we hadn't really even thought about. And I bet most of our folks that are out there are thinking about the AI piece. Like, what do we do? What kind of thing do we want, need, can we get? And so we're thinking to form an internal group that talks about this. What would we be looking at? We would be looking at, is it build or buy? So do we build with a startup company, with an existing company, or do we wait for them to build it out and we take less risk on that? But we also don't get as much benefit on the bespoke piece of it. What kind of open source security issues on the LLMs do we need to be very concerned about? And what is the integration going to look like? So some of the things that we're you know, I think a lot of people are looking at. I don't know where exactly we are. I haven't checked in this morning, but some people are looking at alternatives to the LLM world and the DSM, which is the domain-specific model. Maybe that'll be something we look at. The next step in the decision-making really comes down to just looking around, talking to somebody like Daryl, talking to the folks at Legal Tech Hub, and your counterparts. It's really important, and I have found that to be an unbelievably useful endeavor to find the latest and greatest and try to weed out a lot of this stuff that is just not going to answer the question. So the one thing I wanted to kind of make a big comment on is something you said, Cheryl, is, and I think TJ did too, is that you don't want to ask for something and then 3 months later they show it to you and you go, well, that was completely wrong. That's not what I was talking about. So that is so important, to set up a design review process so that they're going to get to where they need to be for you. So I'm a big proponent of that.
I love it. Yeah. And it was, I mean, we had such good results, I think, working together over the years. And I've seen that come to fruition in many ways.
Yes.
Well, TJ, you and I both have had the privilege of selling into legal. And it's not uncommon for a firm to ask you to develop a feature, as we were just talking about, but they're unwilling to buy until that feature is in there. And that can be a slippery slope. You know, having worked at multiple tech companies myself, I've certainly seen entire sprints dedicated to developing a feature for a customer that might become a customer if only we had this feature, and then whatever happens, maybe they never had buy-in, they never had budget, whatever. It's a waste of time, and it maybe isn't necessarily applicable to other clients. And so how important was it for you, TJ, that Michael and his firm became a customer and a user of your product as you thought about developing the features he wanted, right? Kind of thinking about the difference between standing on the sidelines and actually jumping in the pool or jumping in the game.
Well, Cheryl, that's a great question. Because whenever you build a product and whenever you're involved in technology, you typically start to solve a problem. And then after you solve the problem, people come and look at your technology solution and say, well, can you also solve this problem or that problem and whatever? And one of the things, and I'm going to use a very specific example with Michael, is that we started talking with them about what is it that you would like to see differently. What are the problems that you face? And it was interesting because they came up with a list of things. And one of them, as an example, was they had somebody who would actually go through and attach all of their expense backup to their invoices. And we said, well, we've got that. We've got the expense backup in our system. We could make it a button. Would you like a button? Like, oh, we would really want a button. You remember that, Michael?
I do.
But that's the kind of thing that whenever we gave them the ability to do that, it saved a tremendous amount of time. And it's interesting because it always has to start, whenever somebody asks you for a feature or functionality, you have to ask yourself, how big is this problem? Is this a problem that other people have? And if it's a problem that other people have, one of the things that I will tell you, we are very lucky. I mean, that's the theme with me, is it's better to be lucky than good. And we're, very lucky because we have these amazing developers who care and they listen, and they'll listen to, they listen to Michael, they listen to other members of his team. And then they said, you know what, we could create a solution for that problem. And a lot of times what we'll do, Cheryl, is if a customer comes to us and they have a problem that is a problem that a lot of people share, well, then what we'll do is we'll say, okay, listen, we'll sign you up as a customer, but we won't start your subscription. You use Zencase, but we won't start your subscription until we complete this feature. And because of that, we've been able to complete features and functionality where the development team loves it too, because they have people to collaborate with that have the problem. And I'm a big believer that if you're going to create great technology, you have to communicate with the people that are going to use it. You can't do it based upon, GitHub tickets or write-ups or specifications. You have to talk to the person that's going to use it, because it's the little things that make a difference between great and adequate. And we want to be better than adequate. But that's something that we use that often, because what it does too is it gives us a person that's an advocate for a particular solution. And that's something that giving our development team the ability to have somebody to talk to help make a feature functionality great, that's critical. And Michael's really come up with some amazing features and functionality that it's funny, whenever we're doing a demo, we'll show it to somebody and they're like, whoa, that's great. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I wish that was my idea.
Doesn't matter whose idea it was, just matters that it's there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I really love the idea that you mentioned, TJ, of saying, yes, we're willing to do that. Let's sign you up, and we won't start charging you yet until we deliver that feature. That's something I've done at all the tech companies that I've been at, and I think it's a really great way to show the value from both sides, right? It says that you, buyer, whether that's a law firm or legal ops or whatever it is, you're engaged enough to sign, put some ink on the dotted line. But me, I'm engaged enough, service provider, founder, to really, tie my success and my money to delivering that in a way that meets your needs. And I think that is partnership 101, right? That's becoming a team player 101.
For sure.
So I think one of the other things, we talked about, it's and you started to hit on a little bit, TJ. It's very esoteric for us to sit here and say, like, oh, there's great things like that we can do when we work together on roadmaps. And Catherine, you hit on a couple of them too. But TJ, I know you talked a little bit about one of the features, but there's lots of things that you've developed with Michael's feedback. Can you dig in? I think there was maybe an integration that you had talked a little bit about.
Well, one of them, and this is something that actually a prospect of which Michael had talked to, and now they're a Zencase customer. The ECFX, I think, is a great example of that. One of the problems that you have as a lawyer, especially in Florida, is they no longer attach documents whenever it comes electronic service. Now it's a link and you have to download it. It's really a pain in the neck. And anybody that's worked with lawyers knows that if it's not one click, it's not going to happen. So Michael had an idea. He said, well, TJ, couldn't we integrate ECFX and Zencase and Net documents together so that whenever a document's filed with the court, Zencase will say who needs to review it and where it needs to go. It's automatically put into Net documents. It goes onto a dashboard only for the people that need to review it, and it's all automated. And, I was like, that's a great idea. And then it was Michael that actually led a conference call with ECFX Net documents and our team at Zencase. And I mean, it was really quick that they knocked that out. And I think, Michael, I mean, you would agree that has saved a huge amount of time, effort, and energy, just automating the documents going into the system and who needs to review them.
No doubt. I mean, I didn't mention, but my firm is almost exclusively virtual at this point. We've got 87 employees or so, and there's maybe 5 that are full-time in the office. So the life of a paperless company, of the document as it works its way through it, like, I don't understand how this is not more of a discussion at other companies before. Like, when I talk to other people at law firms and they say they don't have a case management platform, I get like sick. And then when we talk, well, how do you handle, reviewing documents? And they're like, oh, we just email it to each other. And I'm like, okay, I mean, like, that's what most people do. That's gotten us to where we are right now. But I mean, who wants another email right now, right? I mean, we're getting more emails every day, not less. It's an epidemic. And so for somebody to come to us and tell us, well, we can do this a different way, and basically push documents to a single source of truth for the things you need to look at, versus maybe there's a ticking time bomb in your inbox right now that you don't know about and you have to look at. And that's how they got my attention. I did initially poo-poo the idea when it was suggested to me. I'm like, oh, we have somebody for that. And then like TJ said, they changed the way they were serving the documents. And this person who's amazing at our firm, you know, she handles all the court documents. Suddenly it looked like we needed three of them, three of her, just to get by, not to have any additional capacity, but just to survive. We're going to have to hire three new people because of the amount of additional time that it took with this change to do this. And so this crazy idea of like, well, maybe can we all play really well together and make this kind of automated, and would this just work? And we kind of forget that this is even happening in the background. And the Zencase team like jumped in, and we started some calls with ECFX group on what they could do. APIs were developed very quickly, tested, and I mean, I don't know offhand how long. It was very short. I want to say like a month-ish from like inception to test to full rollout at the firm. And it works so seamlessly. It's one of the coolest features where it's just stuff just happens, documents just appear, and it's not just about one less email now, because this solved a bunch of different problems, some of which I never really considered. It almost gave us another layer of analytics that we didn't have, because, for example, accountability, right? If you step back even further back, did somebody see this piece of paper? I don't know. It was on this person's desk. I was supposed to give it to this person, and maybe it's going to go over there afterwards. That's how it was 10 years ago. Now it's like, all right, it's in your inbox. Did you actually look at it? Did somebody review it? Did you take action? Did you not take action? This whole thing gives anybody at the firm where they're supposed to have it accessibility, transparency, and visibility for the accountability of a document as it flows through the firm. And so grateful for it, because it does what everybody promised, which is what you want to hear from your tech vendors, right? You don't want people overselling you on your stuff. And so like we talk about, you know, developing that trust with somebody. And so sure, when somebody tells you, well, we'll make that and we won't make you pay for your product, the product until you do that, that's a step forward, right? That's them saying my word is my bond, not just because I'm saying it, because it's gonna hit me in my, you know, my wallet if I don't come through. But it's taking that a step further to what we're talking about, of how you get to a point where you can have this kind of synergy between a law firm, an end user, and a company. What I personally saw in my adventure getting to this point was a variety of personalities and logistical hurdles on how to communicate with vendors. And what I found was, and look, we're gonna keep praising Zencase because, you know, they're doing such a great job of it, and I mean it that way. But the door wasn't open the same way with other vendors that I talked with, the way it felt like it was with Zencase and its developers. And I mean that sincerely, in the fact that when people want to be able to kind of discuss an issue and how it could be resolved, the red tape that existed at a lot of these massive companies or other companies that had very narrow visions on how they wanted to have a business model, like it shuts down people that are already very driven. Like I am excessively driven with the technology stuff. I get that. I'm not the average, you know, managing partner of a firm right now that's like looking to just like do really, you know, next level stuff technology wise, and I'm very focused on that. And then and I understand the lingo, and I can have these high level deep conversations with everything. So I understand that that's not the typical thing. But at the end of the day, if you have people that are remotely interested in helping a platform grow or develop a new feature, and they start to face any level of resistance, either resistance or difficulty even just finding that door to open on how you have that conversation, that drive gets crushed. Okay, because they got other things to do, right? Don't get me wrong. I got plenty of clients that need my help with what they need my help with. So, you know, if I don't have an easy path to have that conversation with a company, and it's not just Zencase, there are a variety of other software platforms we work with right now. I mean, you know, we talk about Parrot. Parrot's that transcript company that does court reporting. Like they changed the way we take depositions with their digital recording and their video editing and all that stuff. They're the same way with Zencase, where I'm able to go to them and be like, hey, I see it does this. Have you thought about this? And it's not post a note on this forum, set the level of the priority, check back on it in a week. Maybe somebody has seen it. Maybe somebody has reviewed it. That is so disheartening to have to do that, to just send it off to the ether and pray that somebody who cares will look at it. Zencase doesn't do that. Parrot, by example, also doesn't do that. And I think that's why these examples of companies have started to find their way to actually create phenomenal solutions to these pains people are feeling in very short order.
I couldn't agree more, and I love Parrot as well. I think they're doing some cool stuff. I think I heard some really great stuff, synergies, if you will, here as well. I mean, if you think about it, right, Michael, you're building relationships with NetDocs and some of the other folks allowed you to bring this conversation together and gave all the companies involved enough trust in you to trust, TJ and this new company, right, and say, should we hook up with these folks to develop a feature that now all of their customers benefit from, right? So right. You got benefit immediately, TJ got benefit, NetDocs and ECFX got benefit, and your firm got benefit. The entire world got benefit. Catherine's firm might get benefit one day, who knows? But the idea that's the whole idea of this whole concept, though, right? Is that there's a lot of pie, and there's a piece for everybody, and we can make more pie if we work together. So I think that's such a lovely story. Catherine, I would love, you and I have worked on so many things together, and I know this is all part of your DNA, and I remember even at Ilticon, you talking with somebody about some things that you've worked on, but where have you seen your feedback be valuable, if you have an example, but not just to the vendor, but to maybe the firm or the wider industry, where something you've done has made a change that's been impactful, kind of in the same way we've been talking about here?
Sure. And I think the word trust was mentioned a couple of minutes ago. Building that trust between the business partner and the law firm has proven itself to us in numerous ways. I won't go due to time a lot of things, but here's a couple. On our side, it has allowed me, because I work closely with these people, I often get the first look, often the alpha or the beta design input. And I get that ahead of market and ahead of rollout. So I can work with them to see if that's something I want to pursue on additional functions. And if I can see long range that that's probably going to be part of our rollout, I can start making a plan that might have to include some process change on our side. And usually that's an improvement. And it helps me prevent what I think everybody worries about, which is the end user disappointment. Because once somebody sort of gets word that it's not going to do what you want to do, they lose all interest and everybody moves on. So it's harder to hold that interest and that dedication. And here's a happy example, the designation piece that I was talking about a little bit earlier. It truly revolutionized our workflow. If we went from paper to all digital to being able to do things in a snap that used to take 5 people 2 weeks to do. That is a phenomenal change. For the vendor, they're also able to see that their work in making those design changes has a real life effect. And they can take that to their owners and their investors. This is a tip for some of the new folks in the industry, is you can take that back to your investors and your C-suite, and that's a good thing. And as a pay it forward, the last point is that I've often been asked to talk to some prospective buyers and about the value proposition. And that not only builds industry visibility for me as a leader on my part, but it also shows the business partner's commitment to the end user success.
I would pile onto that too, just the pay it forward comment. It's when you're in a pickle. When I was in my pickle, I didn't have people reaching out to me. I didn't have a lot of people to have this discussion with. I mean, the lifeline I got from NetDocuments to really start this conversation, to really get to us to where we got right now. Like, I'm so grateful for that. And having been in that hole and felt that pain and the pressure that comes with where we were, anytime any of the vendors Zen Case included, has asked me to basically talk to anybody about either what I've gone through and where I am now. It's like all day, any day. I'm gonna still have to get my time in. I still have to do the work I have to do. But like that just seems like the good karma thing to do in the industry that we're in is like I never want anybody to have to feel what I felt in 2020. I want people to feel what I'm feeling now. And so that's what I'm doing my best to do right now, whether again ECFX or Parrot, all these platforms and Net Documents too, they did right by me, and I feel like it's only fair if I do right by them. It's going to help pay it forward, and then with more customers on there, these products are only going to get better and better along the way. I will be the indirect beneficiary of that too. So anybody that's listening to this, if you are happy with your partner and they're living up to what they promised and expectations they set for you, pay it forward. All right. If they ask you to have a 30-minute call with a prospect, find the time to do it. I know we're all really, 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 really busy, but just step back and think back to that moment where you were really uncomfortable and you didn't know which way to drive your bus for your firm. And then just think about how much happier you would have been if you would have had somebody whispering in your ear, come check this out. This is actually going to make things a lot better.
I think that's so huge. And the great thing about the pay it forward concept is I think there's more of us that are starting to kind of adopt this. Legal used to be like, no, just me. Don't. I'm never going to talk to you about anything. I'm not going to tell you what I'm working with. I'm not going to tell you how it's going. And I think over the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's really gotten a lot more collaborative, a lot more empathetic and sympathetic. Maybe we're not quite all there yet, but we as individuals can impact the industry as well by being good people and sharing, like you said, giving references. Some people call me all the time and say, hey, what are you using for this? And I'm like, well, I'm using this, but other firms I know are using this, this, and this, and they really like it. And here's who I can introduce you to. So I think those are super great things. And also shouting out happy things from the rooftop, not just angry things, always welcome.
Right.
So as we come to the end of the session, I like to make sure we wrap up on time. Want to invite anybody in the who's watching to go ahead and ask any questions, but wanted to give everybody 2 or 3 minutes to kind of give us any closing remarks or thoughts that you might have on kind of thinking about this topic, working together, and how people should think about going forward. TJ, you want to jump in since you haven't spoken?
Yeah, I'll say, this journey in legal technology has really been great because what happens is it's like you start off with something that you're passionate about, which for me was being able to create great solutions and to make my life easier and to make the life easier for other lawyers. Because let me tell you something. Being a lawyer and working in a law firm nowadays is so much harder than even whenever I started. I used to get faxes. I mean, Michael doesn't even know what a fax is, but I mean, I used to have to hand mark up documents and fax them to other law firms, and now it's like drinking from a fire hose. I mean, you're getting emails from your client at 11 o'clock at night asking to have a document delivered by 9 o'clock the next morning. It's hard. It is hard. But that's where technology nowadays can deliver such amazing solutions that even 2 or 3 years ago would have sounded like sci-fi. But nowadays are things that you can deliver if you just have really the courage to say, I want to try and create this great solution to a tough problem. And it's amazing what you can do. And it's amazing what you can do with the right partners. And this is an area where, I really feel like having Michael on this journey with us and we have a lot of other firms now that are on this journey with us. And what I love is it's just one large collaboration where we're all talking about the same thing. And that's what's critically important.
I love it. Michael, how about you? Closing thoughts?
So I think as an industry, we all probably benefited maybe the most, if not up there, from the tech advantage of what we just went through over the last 3 years of the pandemic. And I know that within the industry as a whole, mental health is something that we've all looked at, and we're always trying to find ways to improve the quality of life for people inside the firm and also when they're not working. And I think the technology angle, what we now have at our fingertips for those that are willing to embrace it, is a whole new world of the ability for us to create safer places, healthier places, better boundaries, better products, happier employees, mental health, like, you know, all the way up the chart. And so I advocate, as much as I love the legal and the tech stuff from it, I love the people I get to work with. I feel very privileged to work with the people that I do. And I'm excited to see how these advancements in technology for law firms and these partnerships that we're talking about right now not only improve the whole process of law, but also improve the day-to-day lives of those that are part of the machine, whether you're, you know, the person that answers the phone, to the person running the firm, to the judge, to the JA, all the way up the chain. Because at the end of the day, you know, we're all working really hard. We want to spend more time with our families. We want to be happier. We want to be healthier. I think this is a great opportunity, and I'm very excited and optimistic about what the future holds for all this.
I love that. Catherine, finish strong.
Sure. I wanted to talk in my little time here about what I'm looking for, and this is for when I start talking to tech companies. And so these are maybe some keep in minds if you're in the development phase, startups and all of that. If it's a new tech in an existing tool, I look to see if it's a technology that's just joining the bandwagon that's out there, the latest and greatest, or if it's a piece that actually makes sense integrating into the tool you already have. If it's a new tool, I also look to the integration possibilities. We mentioned APIs earlier. Is it going to fit in my stack that I already have? The creation of new technology in collaboration with the law firm, you can, as a business partner, look to create templates that not only help me when I need to have a new case, I don't have to reinvent the wheel, but also that helps you because you can sell to others saying, yes, this is what is in place with current users. And I also look to, and this is not such a fun topic sometimes, but whether it's a licensed product or it's a private ownership, because that poses some things that I need to consider, whether this is a first in, first out kind of company that's just looking to get enough business, enough money generated, and then they're sell out and then they're poof, they're gone. So these are the kind of little things that I think sometimes don't get said when you're looking at technology, and there are things that are pretty foremost in my mind.
I love it. Well, thank you. Any other questions? I think I actually scooped in the one question into one of my questions. So any other questions from our friends in the panel? Otherwise, let me just share my screen just in case anyone didn't connect earlier. We encourage you to connect with all the speakers. Really thank you for joining the session today. We'll have this session recorded and posted in the next couple of days alongside a blog with some extra tips that you didn't get here from this session from these three special guests, along with perhaps a few others. You never know. I encourage you to check out our other webinars coming up. We have a session called AI for Smart People starting on October 11th. So thank you to Catherine, TJ, and Michael for being with us today. It has been an absolute privilege to have you here, and I really appreciate all the time and energy you put into hopefully making the universe a better place for us all.
Thank you for hosting this. This was fantastic.
Thank you, Cheryl.
All right, thanks again. Thanks to all.